Hey, friend, welcome to another episode of Start That Business. We're at the time of the year where a lot of people are planning, creating their goals for the new year, and just getting ready for 2025. For me, one of the things I love to do towards the end of the year is to review my systems because I know that my goals are only as good as the systems I put in place to accomplish them. So, I make goals, but I don't stress so much about it. Instead, I focus on creating solid systems that can help me execute on my goals throughout the year. One of the mindset shifts that has helped me in my journey of consistency in growing my business, in just being consistent in every area of my life is what I'm going to share on today's episode. This mindset shift came for me when I read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I read this book in 2020, and this principle is still guiding me up till today. It is such a powerful mindset shift. I can't wait to get into it. So pop in those earbuds, lace those shoes, and let's dive into today's episode. Are you ready to streamline your focus and get clarity to start your online service-based business? Are you tired of struggling with lack of clarity, self-doubt, and the fear of being a public failure? Do you wish you had a clear plan you could follow to make your calling a reality? Hey friend, you don't have to stay stuck any longer. With a renewed mindset and a clear plan, you can start a business that fulfills your calling and makes a profit. I'm your host, Chichi Ukomado, a Christian business coach, Jesus follower, and a 7-figure service-based entrepreneur. In this podcast, I'll teach you how to streamline your focus, get clarity on your business idea, create your business launch plan, set up your business essentials, and launch your sustainable and profitable business from scratch. You will get tons of encouragement, godly wisdom, and accountability to grow in your faith and new business journey. It's time to partner with God and take your first step to start that business. You know the one I'm talking about? Yes, that one you've been putting off for a long time. If you have not read the book Atomic Habits, I want you to add it to your reading list for 2025. Now, if you're a fast reader, you can order it and read it before the year is over, but it is a must-read book for every entrepreneur who is looking to be consistent in building their service-based business, in showing up in their service-based business, in showing up consistently in their life. It's a book that will help you build healthy habits that you will keep using for years and years and years to come. So if you have not read the book Atomic Habits, I encourage you. I will drop the link to the book in the podcast description. Please download or click on the link, go and purchase that book, download it on Audible, download the Kindle copy, get the hard copy. However you read it, just get that book and read it. It will transform your life literally because it did the same for me. I read Atomic Habits in 2020, and this mindset shift that I'm going to share is a principle that I'm still using till today. As a matter of fact, this past week, when I was doing my weekly review and planning, I went back to my folders to see when I actually started being consistent in reviewing every week, planning for the new week. And I found out that I started doing it in 2020 after I read the Atomic Habit book. And I could see my progress every year. I saw what I did in 2020, 2021, I did more, 2022, I did more, 2023, I stayed somewhat around the place I was in 2022, 2024, I'm on track to do more. So I was just blown away. I'm like, wow, it's amazing how just one simple mindset shift can change the trajectory of someone's life for years. For me, it's been since 2023. So you might be asking, what is this number one mindset shift? Now, the mindset shift is going from an all or nothing mindset to an election mindset. And in the book, the author James Clear explains that when you think about building healthy habits, a lot of us think about it from a place of all or nothing. So it's either I work out or I don't work out. And when I stop working out, I feel miserable and I just stop it completely. So he explains that with the election mindset, we begin to see habits differently. So we see habits or we see building of healthy habits like an election. And in an election, you don't need all the votes to win the election, right? We just finished the US presidential election here in the US, and Donald Trump did not need all the votes to win. He needed a certain number of votes to win the presidential election. So James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, is trying to shift our mindset to look at habits or creating healthy habits from the standpoint of an election. So let me give you an example. So when I wanted to build the healthy habit of reviewing my week and planning for the new week, I said, okay, how many weeks do I have in a year? A typical year has 52 weeks. So I said, okay, Chichi, imagine that this 52 weeks is an election. And I told myself, how many days do I need to consistently plan and review my week to win this election? And I pulled up my calculator and I did the math. I did 52 divided by 2. That's 26. So I told myself, I said, Chichi, if you consistently review your week and plan for the new week, at least 27 weeks out of 52 weeks, guess what? You have built a healthy habit. You are consistent. So that mindset shift helped me to start seeing consistency in a different way. It started helping me see consistency in a different light because now I know that I do not need the majority of votes to win. There are days that life happens, there are days that I might not be able to show up like I showed up the previous week, but knowing that this is an election and the goal for me is to win the election, and I know the number I need to win that election in this habit that I'm trying to build, it encourages me. So even on the days I'm not able to show up, I don't give up. I show up the next day and I keep voting. So every day I show up to review my previous week and plan for the new week, I just voted for that new habit that I'm trying to build. Does this make sense? Is this making sense to you? So let me give you another example. Maybe in your service-based business, you say, okay, I want to consistently serve my audience on social media by posting 3 days a week. Guess what? Every week you show up and you post 3 days in that week, you have cast your vote for that habit you're trying to build. Now, if there are 52 weeks in the year and you showed up 27 out of the 52 weeks to post 3 times a week, that means you voted 27 times for that habit and you are building consistency. Does that make sense? When I learned this principle from Atomic Habit, it liberated me from the all or nothing mindset. Because prior to now, when I start any habit, once I fall off one day, I give up, I stop doing it. I'm like, no, it's either I'm all in or I'm not doing it. It doesn't have to be that way. You can leave room for life to happen. You can leave room for you to get up the next day and keep voting for that new habit and keep showing up for that business and keep creating that business and keep working on those launch steps you have listed out to complete to launch your business. Another thought I also challenge is what I call consistency versus frequency. Sometimes I feel we confuse consistency with frequency. Now, when I think of consistency, I think of a batter. Maybe I'm trying to make a chocolate chip cookie and I have all my ingredients and I'm staring, I'm staring, I'm staring, I'm staring. And I ask myself, has it reached the consistency for me to put that cookie dough in the oven? So I see consistency as a character, an identity that I identify with, which is something that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. He talks about building identity-based habits. So what does that mean? It means I am a runner, so I run. I don't run because I'm a runner. I am a runner, so I identify myself as a runner. So what do runners do? They run. So I identify as a kingdom business coach who has been empowered and equipped by God to help Christian career women start their own sustainable and profitable business. That is the identity I identify with. So I ask myself, what does a kingdom business coach do in the habit I'm trying to create? And I show up consistently as that identity to do what I promise to do. So that's the way I see consistency. Consistency has to do with my character, has to do with my integrity, has to do with my belief system, has to do with me being one with myself, being one with the things I've committed to do. Then frequency is me showing up, the amount of times I show up to do the things that I identify with or I'm consistent with. So that way, when I do not show up on a certain day, I do not beat myself up, because if I go back to the core of who I am still consistent with the person I identified myself to be. I just dropped in my frequency. So all I need to do is show up the next day and cast a new vote for that behavior that I'm consistently reinforcing. I hope this is all making sense to you. So consistency is character focus, is value focus, is focused on your integrity as a person. Frequency is the repeated action that follows the character or the value that you say you identify with or you uphold. So that is why I love this mindset shift, because for me, it liberated me and it helped me to begin to see consistency and frequency as complementary. So now I have the freedom to show up and be consistent in building this service-based business I'm starting. And you too can embrace this mindset shift of election. I am voting. I'm casting a vote every day. I'm voting for my consistency. I'm voting for my character. I'm voting for my value system. I'm voting for what I believe that I am. So for you, if God has made you an entrepreneur, if He has called and chosen you to start that business, that is the identity you identify with. Then you ask yourself, what does an entrepreneur do? An entrepreneur starts their business. An entrepreneur grows their business. An entrepreneur impacts lives with their business. Now, that is the consistency piece. Now you can decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do frequently to build on that consistent character that I identify with. So let me give you another example. So if for you, you decide, okay, God has made me an entrepreneur. I'm going to stop running. I embrace that identity. I am consistent in my character as an entrepreneur. So what does an entrepreneur do? Okay, you decide to download my business clarity blueprint and you say, okay, an entrepreneur takes time to define the vision of their business and get clarity so they know what products and services they need to create to impact the life of their potential customers. Now you've identified that. And now you say, okay, I download this business clarity blueprint and I'm going to frequently show up for 15 minutes every day to work on my business clarity blueprint so that I can enforce or vote for this character or consistent character I am identifying with as an entrepreneur. So every day you show up for 15 minutes. Every day you show up for 15 minutes. Every day as you show up, you are casting a vote for that identity. Oh, I'm an entrepreneur. God has called to do this. Every day you show up, you're working on that business clarity blueprint. Every day you show up, you are reinforcing that consistent character that you have identified with. All right, let's recap real quick. The number one mindset shift you need to stay consistent in your service-based business. The mindset shift is shifting from an all or nothing mindset to an election mindset so that you can build healthy habits that reinforce your identity, your consistent identity, so that you can show up frequently to vote for the identity that you are consistent with. Proverbs 4:18 reads in the Amplified Translation, "But the path of the just, righteous, is like the light of dawn that shines brighter and brighter until it reaches its full strength and glory in the perfect day." Maybe you struggled with being consistent, embracing your identity that God has made you. Maybe you struggled in being frequent in reinforcing that consistent identity, showing up consistently. Maybe you struggled this year to show up consistently and frequently to create that business God has called you to create, to launch that business God has called you to launch. Maybe you even downloaded the blueprint and you have not done anything with it. Well, don't beat yourself up. With this new mindset shift, you can now show up every day and cast a vote towards that person God has already made you to be in heaven, that you are becoming here on earth. And as you show up every day to cast that vote, you will continue to shine brighter and brighter and brighter until you reach your full strength and glory in the perfect day. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something new and you were encouraged to take action. If so, will you stop right now and share this episode with someone so they can get the help you just got? I would also love it if you can leave a review for this podcast on Apple Podcast or the podcast app you're using to listen. This is the number one way I know you're getting value from the content on this podcast. Until next time, always remember you have all you need to start that business. So keep listening for more episodes. I'll meet you here next week.